भारत अपने संयम और संकल्प से कोरोना वायरस के सामने एक दीवार बनकर खड़ा रहा, लेकिन इस दीवार को पिछले कुछ दिनों में एक दूषित सोच के वायरस ने कमजोर कर दिया।
और आप जानते ही हैं इसकी सबसे बड़ी वजह क्या है?
तबलीगी जमात की लापरवाही के चलते देश भर में कोरोना एक महामारी बनकर टूट पड़ा है।
Tablighi Jamaat Markaz of Nizamuddin in Delhi has become the biggest coronavirus super spreader.
दुनिया भर के लोगों को तबलीगी जमात के लोगों ने संक्रमित भी नहीं कराया था।
We were just winning when they did everything to defeat us.
So we all saw these visuals play out on our televisions 5 years ago. But now, 5 years later, fast forward, we see the Delhi High Court has recently, on July 17, acquitted 70 Tablighi Jamaat members who were accused of spreading this virus. In the special live program for The Wire, we are joined by Ashima Mandla, who was the lawyer for the Tablighi Jamaat, and she fought a grueling legal battle against the propaganda of COVID jihad and coronavirus jihad. So thank you, Ashima ma'am, for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
So before we get into how the media demonized the Tablighi Jamaat, let's start with the response of the state and how did the state respond if we go five years back in time?
So essentially the case, as we all know, there was a different version that was, of course, rolled out in the media vis-a-vis what was the ground reality in terms of what the papers really said. So 5 years ago, the police came up with an FIR against Maulana Saad sir, who is the head of Tablighi Jamaat, and a couple of other members of the committee, to say that given that there was a religious congregation in Markaz Nizamuddin that has led to spread of virus, and that seems to be the reason why COVID is spreading in the country. And then there was a directive by the Ministry of Home Affairs which said that if you find people who are inside Markaz or any other masjids, you go crack down, take these people to quarantine centers and see if any legal action is made out. So then, as a mass movement, about 2,000 people, which are Indian and foreign nationals related to Tablighi Jamaat, were picked up overnight and put in quarantine centers. Now, at that time, the normal turnaround time was about 2 weeks. But these people were kept inside for 2 months. And after 2 months, there is a directive that comes in from the Delhi government, which says that release the Indian nationals, but so far as the foreign nationals are concerned, handed over to police custody. So that began the actual legal battle so far as the Jamaat is concerned.
Ma'am, when we see that it's not just the Home Ministry, but even the Delhi government at that point of time blamed the Tablighi Jamaat. And as far as I can recall, the Delhi Chief Minister said that an FIR should be filed against the Tablighi Jamaat. And they also, divided patients on the basis of Jamaati patients and non-Jamaati patients.
Most definitely, that the entire propaganda of the government, what it seemed was that they basically wanted an easy scapegoat because they were absolutely and thoroughly unprepared for the pandemic. And it was that I think perhaps they were in complete denial that it will ever spread. So just to make sure that fingers are not raised at them for not being aware of what is happening at a global level and the kind of threats that the threat to life it could actually result in, they just found an easy scapegoat. And of course, why not marginalize the minority, which is always used as a scapegoat any other way?
Ma'am, we also saw how the media behaved all this while. And especially if you look at Republic TV, Arnab Goswami asked the government to take draconian steps against the Tablighi Jamaat. Some media persons compared the Tablighi Jamaat itself to a more dangerous virus than COVID. And they also claimed that there were tapes in which the Tablighi Jamaat leaders were asking their followers to basically not follow the COVID guidelines and violate the lockdown. Did these things come up in the court?
No, actually, none of it was ever discussed in court. So far as the impact of media trial, that is never really discussed in court so openly. But of course, it does undermine the case to a great extent. And but we
Oh,
of course
ma'am, I'm specifically asking about the tapes that were played at
the
that time.
tapes never even brought up. In fact, from what I recall, that later on it was mentioned somewhere that they were morphed. So that also was played by the media at some point. And at the end, if there is any tape, it is for the prosecution to bring it on record. So they know that they don't have any credible evidence. That's why no such tape was ever made to any of these more than 60 charge sheets that they filed. So none of them ever had it.
What was the impact? What was the ordeal of your clients? How did they face all of this? You have closely followed the case. What did they go through?
So at the end of the day, it was grueling, a grueling experience, and I think quite horrific for the foreign nationals at first because we were representing them when the matter started in 2020, and these people were such that they were stuck in an unknown country under these what was seeming to be religious persecution against them, with of course losing their homes, family members, and jobs back home. And they wanted to, of course, get out of here as soon as possible. But even for the Indian nationals who have just been released of this case last week, for them, this 5 years was an uphill battle because when you have a pending case against you, there is a certain vilification that comes along with it. It also hampers your right to travel around. We have clients who've not been able to renew their passports. We have clients who've been declined jobs because they have a criminal case pending on the file. So I believe there needs to be some consequences for filing cases against citizens without any material, any kind of material on record to support it.
And ma'am, even if these people have been acquitted now, we also see how the whole propaganda against the Tablighi Jamaat translated into something even more insidious after that. The whole narrative of Thuk Jihad. Then states started coming up with, laws or rules, orders in Uttar Pradesh where they said that people should be marked by their names on their shops so that they can maintain hygiene of so-called of these shops. Now, this whole propaganda of Thuk Jihad, it also was legitimized during COVID, and now there are no apologies even by the media.
Of course, the media has not really rendered any kind of apology, and in fact, the mainstream media who led to spreading this propaganda is very cleverly evading even reporting this judgment that has come through. So, and that apart, at the end of the day, the entire one thing that has to be actually put forward to the people is that while the bold allegations that were made against the members of Jamaat that they led to spreading of disease, in fact, in none of the charge sheets they've been able to put even one medical document to say that even one person related to Tablighi Jamaat, whether foreigner or Indian, had COVID. So why would this entire propaganda run on Thuk Jihad? It is just a diversion tactic at the end of the day. If they had any credible evidence, it would be before the court to see.
Ma'am, did the court also make any comments on? I suppose the Bombay High Court did make some comments on the behavior of the media. Did the Delhi High Court also talk about it or mention it in their judgment or
No,
in their
the
observations?
judgment is very well reasoned. Honorable Justice Neena Bansal ma'am has very carefully analyzed each of the provisions and the charges leveled against the Indian nationals. However, there is no mention of the consequences of the media trial and the kind of misinformation that the media spread in this case.
Ma'am, can you walk us through how the prosecution's whole theory and charge against the Jamaat fell apart in the court?
So essentially, the charges that were leveled against them was that they have violated a government prohibitory order under Section 140, which is issued under 144 CRPC. Now, this alleged order was passed on the 24th of March 2020, just a day before we actually went into the lockdown in the first round. And what the order says is that you cannot have a religious congregation. Now, this has been analyzed by the Delhi High Court in the context that you've already closed flights on the 19th of March. Then there is a directive that hotels are closed. You can't move out. You even to step out of your house, you needed a pass to come out of your house at that time. So when the general directive is that be where you are, then in that case it is impossible for anybody to move out. So in this time frame, there is no concept of religious congregation taking place inside the masjid. It is people who are just merely being housed because they can't get out of the place where they are at. So if the foreign nationals are stuck in a city, they don't have a flight to go back to their own homes, they have to be where they are. So that is one. The second is the Delhi High Court also says that there is no evidence put forward by the prosecution to show that at any point they had informed the members of Jamaat that there is an order prohibiting a religious congregation. That's number two. The third is when they say that this has led to spread of disease. This is completely unfounded because the entire, all the charge sheets, in fact, none of the charge sheets till date have a single medical report on record to show that even one of them had COVID. So our argument was, which has been upheld by the Honorable High Court, that you cannot spread a disease if you don't have one. So the first onus was on the police to show that even one of them had COVID. Only then can you spread COVID. So on these lines, the entire charge sheet, all the charge sheets were quashed by the Delhi High Court.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for joining the Wire on this special live. And my last question to you is, how do these people feel now? What do they think about the judgment? And personally, do you feel this is justice, that after 5 years, the charges obviously have been quashed against 70 individuals, but now many of them cannot or are not able to start a new life?
Well, I feel it's better late than never. Because the justice system, of course, also has its own limitations when it comes to the overpendency that we have in courts. And of course, we also are cognizant of the fact that merely because this is a highlighted case, we cannot expect the honorable courts to put all the other cases on a hold just to hear this on a fast track. But yes, that apart, what is lost in time and for all the vilification that they've been through, this is of course a redeeming factor, but it may not be enough, as there is no sense of tendering an apology that has come forward. There is no compensation to them for being wrongly roped in. And in fact, there's one small point which I forgot to mention, which is very pertinent to say so, which is at the end of the day, in these 16 cases, there were 3 cases in which the homeowners were actually charge sheeted merely for opening up their homes to Tablighi Jamaat women, because women cannot stay in masjids. So while the men could have taken shelter in the markaz or in any other masjid in Delhi, women specifically needed to stay in a residential apartment nearby. So they've even picked up homeowners to say that, why have you kept a foreigner in your house? So if this is the extent to which our government wants to stoop down, then these are it's a very troubling sign.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.